Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ash Brent will be along in a moment. Just getting some water. Cody Bauman, Scott Tomko, Pete Strauss on the podium this morning. Linda Chris, Marvin Mickish, Ricky King, Justin Glass, Mark Kurtz, Bobby Leister, Scott Snow. Glad everybody's here.
Show start.
Okay. Greg Garcia, Stephanie Connie. Glad you're all here. Let's check the Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerlam Hayfeed and Ranch Services.
78 degrees already in Victoria, Texas, under cloudy skies, heading to a high today of 90. Going to be cloudy all day, windy tomorrow, and after the windy day, then what happens?
I'm guessing rain.
It rains.
Yeah.
What does that say, 80%?
Yeah, 80% Wednesday.
Don't they have a bigger font? Man.
I think that's a setting on your phone. You can fix that. Mark Zapata, Tammy Keeling, Andrew Alvarez. Good morning, everybody.
What do you want to talk about today?
What do you make of all these Republicans getting primaried? And, it seems like, the thing we've talked about, which I agree is a problem for the Republicans, but I also disagree but they're getting primaried.
Cross Trump, lose your seat. There were 7 Republicans who back in the day decided to vote against Donald Trump, vote with the Dems, that Donald Trump was a insurrectionist, that he directly tried to influence normal mid-American citizens into a riot. He did that with purpose. 7 United States senators voted with the Democrats that Trump should be convicted. Now only two still have their seats.
Yeah. What's his name in Louisiana? Bill Cassidy.
Yeah.
Out. Morning, Marina. Scott Tomko says try bifocals, Brent. That'll help with the font.
True story. Really. I wear readers at home. I made a trade-off several years ago. It was a conscious trade-off. I had LASIK done. So I see really well at a distance, but I'm just like anybody else now.
Once you get to
I
a
used
certain
to
age,
read perfectly, but I couldn't focus way off, and I thought that was normal. And then I got LASIK, and they gave me the option, do you want one close and one far? And I said no, because then I'm just kind of like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 6 all the time, Yeah. Kind of like I am in general. And I wanted to be a 10 on my distance. And that's dropped back a little bit to probably a 9. I'm probably a 9 on distance.
Well, and as you get older, it starts to go anyway.
Yeah,
even with LASIK, it'll start to fade.
My mother's 87, and when they did some cataract work for her, they put a lens in there, and she doesn't even need glasses.
Yeah. She
wears readers, I think. I don't know. She doesn't even need glasses anymore. Yeah, I'm interested. Did you see where we made a big deal about, and nobody seems to really be focusing on this in the media. People have talked about how, and it's just in pure ignorance, that this redistricting situation that's going on, that everybody says is being led by Republicans, it's like Jim Crow 2.0, and you're taking the black vote away, and blacks have no influence in politics because you've gerrymandered them out of the conversation.
Weren't they gerrymandered into the conversation?
Absolutely. So all that's happening is people are putting things back to where they make sense, where regions of people. We talked about here that even our own Congressman, Michael Cloud, it makes very little sense that Michael Cloud has the Texas Gulf Coast all the way to Bastrop. It's just a really odd, to me, it's a really odd shaped district.
Yeah.
So
tell me how this guy represents.
That's what I was going to tell you. So Steve Cohen is in Memphis. If I say Memphis and you don't think black, you're ignorant. I mean, you can say blues if you want, but immediately the next step is black. Memphis, inner city Memphis is a black city. Detroit, Chicago. If you don't think black, Democrat black, if you don't think that, to me, you're out of touch. Steve Cohen is a Jewish white attorney. You say Memphis and I say stereotype, Southern Baptist black. They are as diametrically opposed as you can get culturally and philosophically.
Well, not according to Hakeem Jeffries, because he's been a power champion for civil rights.
He's also a guy that apparently was sending sext messages to a 20-year-old model. Anyway, Cohen
said it was his daughter.
Right. And to the point that her dad had a paternity test, DNA test, to prove that I'm her dad, not you. At any rate, he is running against a black female. Proof that a black person can represent whatever district. But that lady is a Republican. So it's not about race. It's not about sex.
It's about power.
It's about power. And that the Supreme Court correctly defined is discrimination. And that is not right.
And Steve Cohen is now afraid that he's actually going to have to do some campaigning.
So he withdrew.
Because his district is changing.
Yeah.
He's afraid to run. He's afraid to campaign.
And all that Hakeem Jeffries blabbering is about. Hakeem Jeffries on one conference, a news conference, he's whining about blacks not being represented. Blacks, not Democrats. And then the next deal, instead of saying this is so great because whatever that lady's name is can now win this and represent Memphians. Nah.
Well, because she's Republican.
She's Republican. Yeah. So he does. Look, Wesley Hunt has been running for the Senate. Wesley Hunt represents white voters in his district.
Steve Cohen says, I've had the great honor to represent the 9th District for the last 19 and a half years.
Time for you to move on.
It's been a district that is a majority African-American district. So he blows up the argument right there, because if this is keeping blacks from representing blacks, how is Steve Cohen?
How did he ever represent blacks?
Yeah.
It's just systemic racism. And nobody wants to see it because they're like, well, you got to admit the blacks don't have a whole lot of power. The whole thing is just dumb. It's like if I reversed it at all and said this isn't fair, people in Memphis need to be represented by a white representative, people would be up in arms that Whitey's trying to take over. It's the dumbest thing ever. All they're doing is saying you can't. And you go back to 64 and 65, the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act. It's just like separation of church and state. They were never intended to be used to set up voting districts. They were simply saying you can't not let someone vote based on the color of their skin. That doesn't mean that we have to now set up a district that favors them based on the color of their skin. Doesn't mean that they automatically get different representation. And the thing I point to now that just drives certain black people nuts is that they don't matter. You're just an American now. There's more Hispanics and Latinos, and welcome, Magic 95.9 listeners. There's more Hispanics and Latinos in this country than there are blacks. And yet the blacks are still saying,
generation,
what about us?
There'll be more Hispanics and Latinos than white people.
What about us? What about us? We did our own district. Well, what about the Native Americans? Why don't we? Because it makes no sense. See, more and more of our Latino voters, Hispanic voters, look, both Republicans and Democrats cater to that vote. They both want the Hispanic vote. Like, it doesn't surprise me at all because of my friend base. But Hispanics are tired of the open border. Hispanics in droves have changed over and voted not for Republicans, but against Democrats. Hispanics fiercely and again,
Yeah,
politics
a lot of them
is
did vote for
stereotype.
Trump.
Politics are stereotypes. Hispanics, extremely faithful, religious folks, very, very family oriented. They don't play all this LGBTQ crap. They see these old shriveled up white women walking around with purple hair and they shake their heads and go, get a job. Hispanics work. Hispanics thrive. Hispanics are family. Hispanics, they make a barbecue on the weekend together. Familia. It ain't like this rogue deal out here. Hey, give me a district. I need my own vote. They can make or break a candidate, and they know it.
Scott Tomko says the Native Americans have Elizabeth Warren.
Well, that is true. That is true. You know, her credibility is forever shot. Just not to mention, her credibility is forever shot, but all you have to do is look at her voting record, and you realize that she's just a waste.
Well, Greg, that was how we were going until 2008.
That's right. Greg Garcia is spot on. How about we stop worrying about race and start worrying about results? Just a wild idea. And the reality is, Alan West could have represented me. He's a black man, retired colonel, military guy, gentleman from the South, the deep South.
Atlanta.
But you know what? He wasn't black enough for the Democrats.
Well,
he was an Uncle Tom. Remember, he told us.
Yeah.
No, they called me Uncle Tom because I didn't talk in Ebonics, because I was educated, because I went to work. I wasn't black. I didn't represent their struggle. It's a struggle of choice in many cases. And guess what? America's tired of it.
How does Steve Cohen represent their struggle?
No, a Jewish lawyer. He's probably rich.
He's afraid of the fight. How'd he win it? The Dems poured a bunch of money into his campaign every time, and now they don't want to do it because they know he can't win.
Well, it's just like Donald Trump said. He went to a media dinner a while back and said, you know, it's good to see all you people here. He goes, you all loved me when I was a Democrat. And he's right. He goes, I've been in your homes. I've donated to your causes. I've been to your kids' weddings.
Probably still donates to some of their causes.
Yeah. Linda Christ says she's very disillusioned about Abbott nowadays. Don't be. Governor Abbott is a politician. And as much as I like Greg, as far as him being a nice guy, he checks which way the wind's blowing every morning. I think that's what he does.
Yeah, you can talk about John Cornyn now. He doesn't represent the interests of Texans. I don't think Greg Abbott as governor is that far behind in some cases. I think if it helps his reelection chances and his election coffers, Greg Abbott will stand for that as opposed to what's best for Texas. And just this morning watching TV, I don't know who paid for it. Boy, because people in Texas are not happy with these data centers, and Hill County decided to put a moratorium on them for a year. There was an ad this morning that I haven't seen, and we watch the news channels every morning to see what's going on. There's a coalition talking about how data centers are your friend, and if you don't allow them to come into Texas, jobs are going to go away. Funding for law enforcement is going away. They're trying to fearmonger. Don't worry that Corpus Christi doesn't have enough water to flush their toilets.
Right.
But if you reject a data center, you're going to damage your police and your fire and your safety, and the jobs are going to go elsewhere.
I agree.
I don't know. We've 10, 20 years of state growth before data centers became a thing.
Tammy adds, gerrymandering should not be allowed to protect political power.
Which is exactly what the Supreme Court ruled on, Tammy.
I don't disagree. This whole race issue is just a distraction from a political power move. I agree with that. A power move by the Dems. Gerrymandering is wrong regardless of who is seeking power by abusing it. My question is, and it's a sincere question, is what is happening right now, number one, is it being done by the Republicans just because they happen to be the party in charge at the moment? And is it being unfairly done? Is it being done in such a way as to purposely suppress the black vote? I mean, shouldn't you be able to create voting districts based on geographic logic? Like, for example, maybe you need a guy like Michael Cloud to have this large portion of the Texas coast because the Port Lavaca, Point Comfort, the Port of Brownsville, the Port of Corpus Christi, those are national security issues, and it's a cohesive group of, I don't know. I'm asking
the courts are ruling though.
So the courts are ruling. It's not the Republicans necessarily. Aren't they just kind of making things make sense?
I think one of the biggest critics in Virginia, and I can't remember his name, he appointed one of the judges that overturned their map.
Okay. That's what I was
Now
wondering.
he's mad.
What I was wondering.
No, it's the courts that are doing it.
There you go. Hey, let's take a quick break. I do want to shift gears to school finance. Folks, the chopping block this week is a great place to get in. Let me tell you what Dawn and I do. We go in and buy their ground chuck or their hamburger meat. I don't know what it is. I don't make it up. Maybe 80-20. But it doesn't shrink and it doesn't throw off a lot of grease. It is great quality hamburger. Now, hamburger can be too lean. The next thing you know, it's dry.
Yep.
That's just not the case with the chopping block. And it's fresh ground hamburger. I just highly recommend that you get in. And then also just always tell them Wade and Carter sent you when you're there.
Yeah. And they've got sausage, boudin, lots of steaks. The cases are ready
full.
to go.
USA Foundation Repair, Charlie Garcia and his team telling you don't have to live with those creaking doors that won't close. It's not your hinges, it's your foundation. If you're on pier and beam, they can shim it up. It's more complicated than that, but they can jack it up, level it up, make it right. With these drought conditions, your slab wants to settle, fix it early. You start seeing the cracks, get a hold of USA Foundation Repair. Veracruz Restaurant.
Back open today.
It's Monday. Get in. The best hot sauce, the best queso, the best guacamole. Get in there today. Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends, this Wednesday night, the 20th. This Wednesday night, Palace Bingo, inviting you to come out. We're going to, no way that's that inexpensive.
Yeah.
As we welcome you every day to the Atzenhofer studio. Atzenhofer, for over 100 years of South Texas tradition, Ash's Car of the Week, which I believe may actually end up on the main screen, is just crazy. A 2022 GMC Terrain Denali. This is a highly optioned vehicle.
Very nice one.
$27,000.
Yep. 22,000 miles on it.
How many?
22,000.
I'm going to go buy it.
25,000.
Well, okay. I'll let it stay. I'll let it stay with extra 3,000 miles. Yep. 25,000 miles on a 4-year-old vehicle, really almost 5 years old. It's 22 model. That is amazing. Nobody drove it. Little old lady drove to church and she was backslidden.
Yep. Great gas mileage. Nice looking SUV.
It's a nice looking car. Very nice. It's not on our screen, but it's a very nice looking car. Our screen. There it is. Oh, look at that split screen technology. Wow. And then Paravita Wellness in the Vita Cafe. Paravita Wellness telling you to get in and get healthy. Erica Briggs doing a lot of updates over at her spot on Airline. You will love it. There's our sheriff, state representative from House District 30, AJ Louderback. Great time to bring up this subject, sir. Hope you can hang around for a minute. The time has come, and I've studied it every way I can think of, and I'm going to tell you, I welcome in, if you're Micah Patton, if you've got school board experience, if you've got educational background and you have a solution for me, I want to hear it. I can no longer understand why we fund our schools based on attendance. It is folly to think that somehow Ryland's 8th grade teacher has anything to do with his attendance or truancy. BJ Nelson, I'm glad you're there. I want to study and understand why we don't fund our schools based on attendance. I mean, on enrollment. I'm sorry, I apologize. I misspoke. Enrollment.
The state.
If it's $1,000 a kid and you've got 12,500 kids, then I want $12,500,000 and I'll deal with my own truancy issues. Parents control attendance. Schools do not. And the idea that the teachers and the school are constantly at odds with the students over education is a senseless waste of time. I've got a senior in high school who has 5 AP periods, is on the A honor roll, and he has to miss school because who would have thunk it? His orthodontist works 8 to 5. You get to a certain number of even excused absences, and we have them. We have spring illnesses. We have different things that happen. Hasn't affected his grades over there at the diploma factory.
Well, and don't forget, he played football. He ran track. So he's representing the school, but he's still absent because of that.
Everything that he track meets, I was told that there are right now about 60 kids in the senior class at West High School who are on attendance contracts. And what that means is after every class, that kid has to go up and get his teacher to sign it that he was in attendance that day and turns it into the office. It's a paperwork kerfuffle. It's purely to be there in case they're audited by the TEA.
What happened?
And that's about funding.
When teachers would take roll to start a class, wouldn't that solve that problem?
The whole thing is, it's weird because like Caden is the kind of kid, now I'm just talking about my kid. He's like, well, if I've got to be at the orthodontist at 9:30, I can go to my first class and then I can go to the orthodontist. I bet I can be back by the second class, by the middle of the second class. But there's a time in there where, and you people know the answers to this better than I. If you're not there at a certain time of day, then your vote doesn't get counted and you don't end up being funded that day. And so don't ever kid yourself that VISD cares about your kid learning in stereotype. They care about collecting that money.
As long as they're in their seats by what is it, like 10 o'clock or something like that?
It's like third period. Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, East isn't doing the same thing, are they?
No, they don't all do the same thing. And like a coach has to let the school know these 10 athletes for sure will be running at the track meet. Now, these other 15 may or may not. But Julie Flessner, my junior is exempt from his finals next week, but he has to go to school or he will lose exemption. In theory, getting a 0 on the final, which could mean that he makes a significantly lower grade in the class. There's a big deal going on right now for them at West High School. Today is like walkthrough day or something. I don't know what it means. I've never heard of it. But you can put on your cap and gown and you can walk into Cade Middle School. And I could see this being a benefit for some of the younger kids.
I don't think it does anything.
Okay. I was trying.
I know.
But, you get to see the graduates. Someday that'll be me. It's everybody. But my kid, I asked an assistant principal the other day, because as you can know, I just said, this is dumb. You're being dumb. You're majoring in the minor. Nobody cares if Caden is at school or not. He had enough credits to graduate last year. He doesn't have a first period. He doesn't have an eighth period. And in the middle, he's got a bunch of dual credit stuff. The kid's essentially going to college. He's there. He's got over 100 average in several classes.
He's an A honor roll student.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
And at first, they threatened him with what? Summer school. Summer school. He's graduating.
And guess what? When you tell a kid like Caden, you may not be able to walk across the stage. What? I got news for you. I bet you my kid walks across that stage. Anybody want to bet against me? Let's party. But here's what I don't get. Who cares? If it's all about money. So just give them the money. And then the teachers can teach, and the students that want to learn can learn. You know, when you join a gym and it's only $9.99 a month, you know why it's $9.99 a month? Because they sign up 5,000 people, and only 200 of them go. But they still collect the $9.99 a month all the time. Well, guess what? The 200 that go are in great shape. We could practically have a private school. If we could just get the money, and Sheriff Louderback's listening, and I don't think he would tell me, no, Brent, we've got to have those kids in school. They've got to learn. Let the turds float. Let them go. But that wouldn't happen. The attendance would be the same. My kid is still going to miss one more class for an orthodontist appointment. And he's going to graduate, and he's not going to summer school. Stupid. The whole thing is stupid. Just fund it based on enrollment.
And then when they realize that he's going to graduate, what did they threaten him with? Detention.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can sit in Austin and debate these things with people who haven't been in school, honestly, in 40 years. Before they even had orthodontia. And they're sitting there going, well, I think that, you know what, if the kid's not there, then the school doesn't, if the school needs to get that kid to school. BS. That kid's going to come to school if his mom and dad make him. And I don't make my kid go to school. You've got to get there because they've got to collect that money. That's not why my kid goes to school. Yep. It is not done fairly. It's not done fairly. And attendance doesn't mean a kid learns, just as absence, as evidenced by Caden, doesn't preclude a child from learning.
No, there is a correlation, though, that attendance does actually improve grades.
Well, of course it does. I mean, you went to college 8 years. You knew that if you didn't go to class, you didn't learn.
Just 6.
But at the same time, that should not affect the funding of the school. No, solid point. Andrew Alvarez adds correction. Their kids haven't gone to school in 40 years. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get with our state rep on that because can anybody give me a reason? Can anybody give me a reason why we fund based on attendance? I don't know. So the school board doesn't advocate for enrollment only. I think the school board has their head in the sand. Yeah, I'm going to pursue this because it's dumb. And I'm going to tell you, I've talked to school administrators. I've now talked to, and not complaining, they have said, yeah, this is dumb. I've talked to coaches who say, and I get it, you're not going to feel sorry for a coach. That's fine. But the coaches are like, the paperwork is relentless. And they change the attendance rules mid-season, and they change it mid-year. And then one school, East, apparently, and I can get you the details, East has a different, maybe better, maybe worse, I don't know, attendance program than West. So it's not even being demanded at the highest level either. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't.
Tammy Williams says taking attendance twice for a primary school is so dumb. Not only did you have to drop little Billy off, you better leave him there or we don't get our $750. Never mind that little Billy's got smallpox. Well, you look, hey, I got to give her credit when she's right. Tammy Keeling says you can't learn if you aren't in school, but just being in school doesn't mean you aren't being taught. You are being taught. Neither one of those things are affected by how the school is funded. That's what nobody's explaining to me.
Yeah.
I agree with your comment. You can't learn if you aren't in school. That's a fact. And that has nothing to do with whether the school's being funded on attendance or enrollment. The school needs to be funded based on enrollment.
But I see what typically happens with VISD and VISD schools. For some reason, West is overreacting to something. I don't know what. And East isn't for whatever reason. But VISD has a history of schools and the district, in my experiences, of overreacting because squeaky wheels get the grease. Whether it's relaxing dress codes or enforcing attendance contracts.
Yeah, dress codes are dumb. Okay, I get it. I don't. It's kind of like I don't know how to define porn, but I know it when I see it. I don't think there's anything wrong with. I'll give you a great example. At the high school level, a certain top for one little girl may be appropriate. A certain top for another, the same top for another little girl may not be appropriate, depending on how they are. And there's just, I mean, I think a teacher, a principal,
your short shorts are not appropriate at all.
Right. Should have the ability to say, yeah, see, I've got no problem. Your shorts must be down at least mid-thigh. But I lived in the Valley. And down there, they had a much more pragmatic, it's like, hey, we just want the kid to show up. If he's wearing flip-flops, we don't care. You can't have an open-heeled shoe. Who cares? You want the kid in school or not? Be glad there's not a dress code at your church.
Didn't know what an open-heeled shoe did to learn.
Right?
How it's correlated with learning.
100%. Thank you. I'm glad you like my top. But I'm starting to get some man boobs. I may need to wear some type of little sports bra.
Training bra for Brent.
Yeah. But BJ, Micah Patton, I'd love your chime in on this. And anybody that tells me this is the first cue that something needs to be examined and maybe changed. Well, that's just the way it's always been done. Because back in the day, it's romantic. The old school marm would get in her wagon and run on out to Lucas McCain's place and see why Mark wasn't there. It's more of a social welfare fantasy than reality.
Yeah.
Teachers aren't driving around. Well, I've got to go pick that kid up. You see it now on like the Texas Hill Country Reporter. This guy's been a principal out here in blank county for 80 years, and he took his mom to school, and he picks up her son now. All right, that's great. We call that a bus driver. Fund it based on enrollment, or give me a reason why you don't. And if it involves the idea that funding it based on attendance is going to lower truancy, you're wrong. It doesn't. My kid's not truant. My kid has an appointment. And the fact that you punish the good kids, the kids you want in your school,
the kids that'll be there anyway because they like to learn.
That's right, is dumb. And when it's dumb, it ought to be able to be fixed like that. You got the governor talking about paying everybody's M&O. Hey, we're just going to use our surplus money. Why don't you just fund the schools based on – because here's what nobody understands. Oh, a handful of our listeners.
Because you know what they're worried about is because here's the argument against this, and I can hear it already, and I haven't heard it. But, well, they'll just lie about their enrollment numbers.
Well, that's a much easier thing to audit than 100 teachers.
I agree, but that'll be the defense for that.
You don't think they lie about their attendance?
Absolutely they do.
Come on. I mean, if you're willing to say they're going to lie, yeah, that's craziness. I can't think of any reason.
Julie Flessner says, year before last, the two high schools both developed attendance plans, trying different things at each school to see what works.
Well, that's great. Let's just throw it up there till something sticks. But here's the deal. Why don't you just throw up the idea that we'll do it based on enrollment? It just makes no sense.
They take roll every day when you were there in high school?
In some classes, but I think they did in first period. I really don't remember because, to be honest, I was always there because of athletics. You had to be there. You ain't there, you ain't practicing.
But you had an open campus too, right? At lunchtime, you could go home or you go to wherever you wanted to go over lunch. Yeah.
By my senior year, I would go home. I could be home in like 5 minutes. We lived in Tanglewood.
Didn't have a dress code either.
And I would we had a dress code. You couldn't wear shorts. Everybody wore long pants the girls could wear dresses, but we wore long pants. But I remember going home every day and watching Perry Mason, and then I would with Raymond Burr, and then I would also watch The Untouchables. I had a deal with Ms. Morrow where I could come into English just a little bit late every day. Yeah,
but you were there.
Yeah, I don't understand why you don't just fund schools based on enrollment. Makes perfect sense to me. And again, I haven't heard a good reason to fund it based on attendance. I mean,
but aren't you wasting? I mean, you seem like you're wasting everybody's time with these attendance. Somebody's got to monitor these attendance contracts, make sure they're signed every day. Like, does he turn it in at the end of the day every day?
Funny you should say that. They do turn it in, and they keep it in a big file in case the TEA, which is also funded with your money, comes to audit it. I mean, cha-ching, 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 bureaucracy feeding bureaucracy. There is no bigger industry in our state than education. 48% of the state budget goes to education. Can't we streamline it?
K-12, right? I think. Or
yeah.
Is that all education, or is that just K-12?
I don't know. I think that's just like public school money. It's craziness. And it's not our school district's fault. It's not BJ and Micah. It doesn't fall back on Tammy. It's nobody's fault. It's just the way it's always been done. And there may have been a time when that did cut down on truancy. It gave the school motivation to make sure the kids were there. I think you give teachers motivation to teach if they don't have to take roll.
But has it really cut down on truancy? Because
no.
I recall Justice of the Peace Precinct 4, Clint Ives and Vance Riley, both talking about the truancy issues that they deal with, that they would have to deal with as county judge or as Justice of the Peace.
Well, I'll get to that in a second. Micah Patton, thank you, sir. Micah says, Brent, what you're saying makes sense. I will look at the why behind the state funding behind attendance and why enrollment is the method. It's not the first time this has been discussed.
Attendance is the method, not enrollment.
Yeah, attendance is the method and not enrollment. Why? Yeah.
But I mean, and I get it. I guess if they're trying not to make exceptions to policies, but that's why you have policies and not hard, fast rules so that you can make exceptions. You got a kid who's going to graduate. He's an AP. It's not like he hasn't shown up just without a doctor's note or a football game to travel to or a track meet to go participate in.
Right.
And his last month of school, you're building up resentment for the school because you're making them do a bunch of stupid stuff.
That's right.
That
He's
isn't going to affect
accountable for the content of the class. You want to teach them something, especially your kids that are college bound. How many times did you have to say, hey, I missed that class. You got the notes? You're still accountable for the content. I'm not asking that when my kid leaves your class to go to the dentist that he's exempt from that day's content. That's on him. That's on me as a parent to make sure my child gets the data and learns it. Tammy adds, worse than that, all districts who pay recapture doesn't go back to public schools. It goes to the general fund. That's, of course, that is on kind of down a rabbit trail. That's a whole nother set of issues. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure I'm big on this rich district, poor district. Hey, if you're fortunate enough, you talk about gerrymandering. If you're fortunate enough to be in a district that has a bunch of oil revenue out in the Permian Basin, those people pay more taxes. That frees up more money to go to other schools. But I'm not sure you say to that school district,
you got to give that to the
we're taking your money and sending it to Brownsville. If you don't like Brownsville, move.
Calhoun, right?
Julie Flessner says one of the draft attendance plans had students making up time for missed days, including days due to extracurricular activities. See, that's ridiculous. I don't think because my kid's a good athlete that he should have to make up days for missing over a track meet. It's extracurricular. It doesn't mean that he's not accountable for the content.
And he already is accountable because
that's right.
If he or she doesn't pass or doesn't have a high enough grade, they don't play for the next 6 weeks. So there is some accountability built in already on that one. And I agree. If you're representing the school, and it could be band, it's not always athletics. It could be band. It could be whatever.
Yeah.
It could be an academic UIL meet, but whatever. They're still responsible for the content.
Or band. Like you said, when they travel, Julie adds, there was a week in January where Colin, that's her son, would have missed an entire week of school between the state debate tournament and a soccer tournament. Says my top 5 kids since 5th grade would have had to sit out several soccer games due to missing school because of extracurricular activities had that plan gone forward. Thankfully, more sensible heads prevailed. We've got kids who missed school to take an AP exam, which allows them to place out of college hours a dual credit AP exam. Well, now they're on an attendance contract because they missed school. I want enrollment only. Yeah. And I don't agree with that comment. That money goes to doesn't go to poor schools. It goes to the general fund paying for vouchers. It was going to the general fund long before vouchers, so that's not the point. And I'm not against vouchers. I'm never going to be against vouchers. Y'all's hero, George W. Bush, was one of the first to really champion that. He said he was going to make it happen, and of course he didn't, because much as president, he didn't really do anything. So Abbott comes along and says, fine, we're going to throw $1 billion at it. Get ready. That number is going to go to $3 billion. We're going to now have 300,000 vouchers, and only 275,000 people even petitioned for a voucher.
Keep it where it is for the next. They shouldn't change anything for about 3 to 5 years. But yeah, because the lobbyists and the campaign contributions.
Well, we'll
ensure that it happens.
There's not enough vouchers. We can't even afford to build a school based on the number of vouchers. So Brian Small says, can the ortho meet him at the track meet? I mean, you could kill 2 birds with one stone. That's what we need. Down there by the long jump pit, you just have one of those chairs that lays back. I like it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
There you go.
Smart, enterprising ortho. If you get like a delivery van, UPS van, turn it into a mobile dentistry. Woo.
Yeah. I'm not so sky is falling. I don't believe the voucher program is going to go to $7 billion. I don't know. All I do know is this.
Although if it goes to 3, 7's not a huge jump from 3 anymore.
Except you've got to have enough kids that want it.
Yeah.
My kids don't want it.
Well, but here's the thing. You had 275,000 people apply, and we only had a program for 100,000. We've already prioritized who those 100,000 will be. Why are we giving all 200? Why are we giving? Not really. special needs, income-based.
Okay.
Why are we giving all 200? Why do we have to give all 275,000 a voucher? We don't. Stand some ground, Abbott and state legislators.
So you
got 100,000 in the program. Some of them, here's the thing. We haven't even figured out if some of them are going to attrition out of it because it may not be what they wanted.
So what's interesting about the special needs kids, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because some of them, so schools get, if your kid is deemed special ed, the school gets more money to educate your kid. Now I'm just making up numbers. Let's say it's $750 a day. They might get $1,200 for a special ed kid. What's interesting about that is that extra $450, not all of it has to go to special ed.
No.
And that right there, that's a problem. Because here's the deal. Schools use that money for other things. So that encourages a school to deem your kid special ed. Now, while that might give your kid certain extra benefits, it's also stigmatized. So we're going to mainstream every kid, but Ash every now and then mixes up his R's and his S's. He might be dyslexic. Cha-ching. So see, if you're not going to spend all that money on Ash and you're going to use some of it for something else, there's a conflict there. There's an incentive for the school district, any school district, not ours, to take advantage of the system.
I have to go fill the cast with Gar after.
Right. See, there you go. One other thing to know is something that slipped my mind. It'll come back. Dementia. I've been diagnosed. I think we should get more from our sponsors for my half of the program. Huh. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. The schools it's kind of like loading up an airplane, okay? You got 180 seats. Until you get to 120 seats, that plane is costing you money. The next 60 are 90% profit. Because why? There's not that much more weight. I'm just giving you a bag of peanuts and a Coke, and I'm still collecting the same money from you that I did for the people that front the bill up front.
Delta, by the way, no longer giving those peanuts and Cokes on short-haul flights.
There you go. But the district, they crave 98% attendance. At 95, they make money. At 94, they struggle. At 98, cha-ching. Man, just fund it based on enrollment to 100%, and let's roll. Yeah, Patrick Strauss is so glad we chose to sacrifice and send our daughter to St. Joe.
And you still wouldn't change the bureaucracy.
That's exactly. And you still paid school taxes while you did it.
Yeah.
It's a familial sacrifice.
But if you base it on enrollment, you'd still have a bunch of state bean counters making sure the enrollment numbers weren't fudged. So nothing changes there.
And I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but you people have become so desensitized to the idea of affirmative action. You're programmed to believe that it's okay to give the first 100,000 vouchers to special ed kids and poor kids because Patrick Strauss, he can afford to send his kid to St. Joe. I don't care if it's a good thing or not. It's still discriminatory. It's still discrimination, which is exactly why you've had so many people going, when they ask you a question, you say you have to put Cass in the GAR. We need you to get that voucher. And by the way, it's also a double-edged sword because the schools, today's secret, they'd love for your special ed kid to not be there, and they would love for your poor kid not to be there. You ever go to school? I have to go to Walmart and buy $250 worth of crap just to send Ryland to school. I need 9 rolls of toilet paper, 8 boxes of Kleenex, 75 number 2 pencils. They all go into the teacher's closet. You know what happens all year? The teacher gives them away to kids. You know who she gives them to? The poor kids.
Or the kids whose parents just don't want to spend the money.
There you go. Yep. 100%. The funding of our schools is whack. Folks, Went Services is inviting you to get a quote on a turnkey Generac generator. Wisconsin-made, American-made product. You can go to work, come home. The propane will be connected to the generator, will be connected to the house, will be connected to the funny bone. And when you hit it, you'll feel the power. Power goes out, the generator kicks on. You'll be thrilled that Went was there. Chestnut Furniture, you can sit and relax in your Easy Boy type recliner built by Best Furniture. Ryland's teeth are not jacked up. He's at the orthodontist. Be small. On an attendance contract.
Kate doesn't have the same problem.
Chestnut and Love make your house a home. Get in and see why you just always do better at Chestnut. Palace Bingo, we talked about.
Yep, we'll be there Wednesday night. Looking forward to it.
Be there. It's going to be great. First State Bank of America. First State Bank of Louise Astros update. Astros suck.
Yeah, they lost 8-0 yesterday. Nathan Eovaldi pitched a pretty good game.
He's a nice pitcher. He pitched well into the seventh.
Yeah. Peter Lambert did not pitch such a great game. Went 6, gave up 5 earned runs. And the Astros lose 8-0. They did take 2 or 3 from the Rangers. It looked like they were going to sweep. They looked good on Friday night. They looked good on Saturday. Then yesterday afternoon.
Yep.
Did not look so good.
So, no doubt about it.
I don't know. I mean, and it's not just the Astros, but I think this is where we are when you pay big money to your 12 starters and then you've got nothing left for the guys behind. I think some of the guys that they're counting on to step up aren't doing so, and they're not as deep. And I think the AAA guys that they've called up aren't seizing the opportunity, and they're showing why they'll complain in AAA, man, they really should give me a shot. They really should give me a shot. Now they're getting their shot and they can't produce.
There you go.
That's where we are right now.
So this is apparently how it works. If you tell the state your enrollment will be 12,000 students and you estimate 94% attendance, the state will fund you based on that enrollment projection. If you're over, let's say you do 12,500 students or you do 95, 96% attendance, then the state owes you money. Put enrollment on top of that, and if attendance estimates are off there, it further affects funding. So if you tell them you're going to do 12,000 at 94%, but you only do 11,800 at 92%, you don't make as much money. All you have to do, in my opinion, is take roll the first day of school or the first week of school and figure out how many kids are enrolled. Because we know kids are always checking in the first couple of weeks of school. I could even do it on a Masaminos rate between 12,000 and 12,250. You get X number of dollars. Between 12,251 and 12,500, you get X number of dollars. And we could adjust at the turn, right? I'll give you 2 strokes aside. If you've got me down by 4, you're going to give me some strokes on the back. They've got $50 billion a year that they jack around with. Altuve, with an unexcused absence yesterday, was at the dentist. He's got an oblique strain. 7 of the 10 Astros that played on opening day
not in the lineup.
Are not in the lineup.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, I mean, listen to these names yesterday. Matthews, Jordan.
Played pretty well.
Yeah. Vasquez, pinch hit. DH.
Vasquez is good.
Walker, regular. Then you get into Whitcomb, Cole, DeCenzo, Shoemake, Smith, Salazar, Allen.
Shoemake playing a solid 30. He's batting about 450. What do you got?
333.
How much?
333.
It's better than
limited time, though.
Does anybody know what's wrong with Cal Raleigh? Did he win the MVP last year?
He had a one-off. That's the way
the guy's batting like 160. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
Nah, I wouldn't go that far. The Astros not turning into the Cowboys of baseball. No. They've won 2 World Series, and they're dealing with injuries, and they're not as deep as they've been.
Yeah.
They made some moves. The Allen kid isn't quite.
but they're not close. Spencer Arrighetti looks great. The Lambert kid has been solid. Hunter Brown's about to come back. But, yeah, Frank Mejia says his glove is ready. Frankie, a light-hitting second baseman. Kind of reminds you of Jose Altuve, just a little taller.
Where did Dubon go? Is he with the Braves, loving life?
Probably. I thought he was with the Pirates, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I miss Dubon. I tell you, he's pretty good.
The Astros miss him too.
The Senzo guy's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing for the Braves.
What's he doing? How's he hitting? Do you see anything?
245, 3 home runs, 25 RBI. So he's really
solid.
He's not doing as much.
Utility.
He's right around where Allen is, which is the guy we got for him. So yeah, I'd probably trade offs there about the same, but the Astros just have too many injuries to overcome. That's really what it is.
Yeah, solid, Andrew. Do I need to use AI to project school attendance? I don't know. I just think that the attendance policies, as I stated, attendance at VISD is majoring in the minor. And if I can say to you, well, your special needs and your poor kids need to get a voucher, then if you're on the A honor roll and you've got somewhere you need to be and you have a note from me as a parent, then let it go. Let it go. Clearly, there's a village raising my kid. Clearly, my kid is interested in his school. That's the whole point. And it's when you get the parents working against the school, you're going to have a problem in the long run. And nothing makes a mama madder than, well, I'm sorry, your kid can't go on the senior walk because he's in detention hall for absences. Oh, I'm sorry that he played football.
We want kids in class, but we're going to let them go walk through the junior high halls.
Hey, I don't know how to tell you this. Aside from some AP testing and the STAR test a couple of weeks ago, VISD is straight up mailing it in. There ain't crap going on at our schools right now. You can bet on that. They ain't learning nothing. Yeah. Well, I agree. So Steve says you're back on the local policy. They can't let it go because they need the average up. But I agree. But the only reason they need the average up is because they have to take a roll every third period to get their $750.
Yeah.
It's dumb. Let's take that pressure off the school district. This is a very pro-district rant. This is an anti-legislation rant. So anyway, dumb stuff. Dumb stuff.
Yeah, we didn't
Smart
even get to half the stuff
stuff
we're going to talk about today, but that's all right.
Do you have another headline? Don't be surprised if Donald Trump doesn't just bomb the crap out of Iran. They apparently told him the other day, we're ready to go back to war if you want some of it. I hope we obliterate that desert this week. Maybe we could get the orthodontist on the show, Brian. That's a good call. B. Smalls, he's on fire.
He's on fire today.
He's a problem solver.
He's got all the ideas.
Folks, it's the top of the hour.
It is the top of the hour.
We love you all. Wish you a great week. Go win Monday. Just win today, and the rest will take care of itself. Make sure you're in your seat by 8. Bye, folks.
Bye, folks.